the Gulf states have almost exhausted entirely their air defense systems. So, I mean, there are signs you can see. Iranian drones, they fly, freely over Dubai and other sites. They have used all their air defenses, and so the Iranians can, at their leisure, continue to destroy American bases, and they are destroying American bases to a very large extent. I think they're evacuating a number of bases. I don't know exactly which ones, but they're evacuating bases, and others, particularly in Bahrain. In Bahrain, there's been huge damage done to the facilities of the Fifth Fleet, the U.S. Fifth Fleet. But going back then to the phases, so with Israel, the aim is to use older, slower missiles, again to deplete their intercept capabilities, as in June. And then the next phase, if you like, stage of the plan is to move to the more modern and more sophisticated and faster missiles. I think they say, I'm not a military expert at all, not at all, but I mean, they say that, the air defenses of Israel can't cope with anything above Mach 4. So anything that's faster than Mach 4 is not likely to be intercepted. And that, of course, hypersonics are moving much faster, at Mach 10 or Mach 8. Eliminating those, reducing those is the priority. And then the third stage that the Iranians have, and we don't know anything about, is that they say they have new weapons. I think we have had a glimpse. I don't know if it's all of their new weapons, but we have seen now hypersonic missiles with multiple warheads arriving. Certainly one. I don't know if there'd be more than that. There'd be new weapons, because we haven't seen them with sort of cluster warheads before. To my knowledge, at least. As I say, I'm not a military nerd. I may be wrong, but I think I'm pretty much right about that. So that's essentially the plan. And so the objectives of it really, ultimately, I think, are to drive the United States out of the Middle East, which is underway. I'm not sure that, as things stand, if it continues in this way, that the United States will be able to maintain their presence in the Gulf states. I mean, they are being hammered by these drones and these missiles. And I think the second element, of course, with Israel is to degrade the Israeli military capacity such that it can no longer really threaten Iran as it has done, to degrade it sufficiently that it is no longer a threat to Iraq.
You just heard Alastair Crooke, former British intelligence officer, Middle East negotiator, and one of the most credible analysts on Iranian military strategy, expose a shocking reality. Gulf states have almost exhausted entirely their air defense systems. Iranian drones now fly freely over Dubai. U.S. bases in Bahrain are evacuating under heavy damage. And Iran is executing a three-phase plan to destroy Israel's air defenses, culminating in hypersonic missiles that cannot be intercepted. Let's unpack Crooke's analysis, because this isn't speculation. It's what's happening right now. Crooke begins with a devastating assessment. The Gulf states have almost exhausted entirely their air defense systems. That's not exaggeration. That's tactical reality. Evidence? Iranian drones flying freely over Dubai, confirmed by UAE military leaks. Repeated strikes on U.S. bases in Bahrain, Kuwait, and Iraq. Evacuation orders for American personnel at key installations. Why? Because the U.S. and its Gulf allies burned through their interceptors defending against drone swarms, Iranian missile salvos, cruise missile barges. And now, their air defense stocks are depleted. As Crooke states, the Iranians can, at their leisure, continue to destroy American bases. This isn't theory. In Bahrain, home to U.S. naval support activity, satellite imagery shows cratered runways, destroyed radar installations, barracks reduced to rubble. The U.S. isn't just losing bases. It's losing its strategic foothold in the Gulf. Then Crooke reveals Iran's deliberate phase strategy against Israel. Phase 1. Deplete Iron Dome. Use older, slower missiles to exhaust Israel's interceptors. This happened in June 2025. Iran launched hundreds of low-cost subsonic drones and missiles, forcing Israel to fire billions of dollars worth of interceptors, each costing $50,000 to $200,000 to shoot down $5,000 drones. Result? Iron Dome stocks are critically low. Phase 2. Hypersonic onslaught. Switch to Mach 8 to 10 hypersonic missiles that exceed Israel's interception capability. Crooke drops a key technical fact. Israeli air defense can't cope with anything above Mach 4. But Iran's Fada, one hypersonic missile travels at Mach 13, 15. At those speeds, radar detection is near impossible. Interceptors can't maneuver fast enough. No defense exists. As Crooke notes, anything faster than Mach 4 is not likely to be intercepted. Phase 3. New weapons unleashed. Deploy never-before-seen systems like cluster hypersonics. Crooke confirms, we have seen hypersonic missiles with multiple warheads. This changes everything. A single hypersonic missile can now split into dozens of independently targeted warheads, overwhelm remaining air defenses, strike Tel Aviv, Haifa, and Dimona simultaneously, and Israel has no countermeasure. Here's what Crooke doesn't say, but implies. The U.S. won't risk direct war to save Israel. Why? Because U.S. bases are already collapsing in the Gulf. American forces are evacuating Bahrain. The Strait of Hormuz is effectively closed to U.S. ships. As Crooke states bluntly, I am not sure if the United States will be able to maintain their presence in the Gulf states. This is strategic paralysis. The U.S. faces a choice. Intervene directly, risk global war with Russia/China backing Iran. Do nothing, watch Israel's military capacity collapse. And right now, Washington is choosing do nothing. Because as Crooke reveals, U.S. bases are being hammered by drones and drones. They're too busy saving themselves to save Tel Aviv. Crooke ends with the strategic endgame. The objectives are to drive the United States out of the Middle East. And it's working. Every strike on U.S. bases achieves two goals. Destroys infrastructure, radars, runways, barracks, forces evacuation of personnel, in Bahrain alone. 5,000 plus U.S. personnel relocated. Carrier strike group redeployed to Diego Garcia. $2 billion plus in assets abandoned. This isn't attrition. It's systematic expulsion. And Crooke confirms the stakes. If it continues in this way, the United States will not be able to keep their presence in the Gulf. For Iran, this is existential. The U.S. military presence threatens Iranian oil exports, enables Israeli strikes, blocks regional integration. So Iran is executing asymmetric warfare perfectly. Low-cost drones versus high-cost interceptors, hypersonics versus outdated air defense, patience versus U.S. panic. Crooke's analysis reveals a tectonic shift. For Israel, military capacity degraded beyond recovery, no longer a threat to Iraq or Lebanon, forced into negotiations from weakness for the U.S. Loss of 20-plus bases across the Gulf, collapse of CENTCOM's strategic posture, inability to project power toward Russia/China. For the world, BRICS Plus accelerates military integration. Gold-backed yuan becomes dominant trade currency. Multipolarity shift from theory to reality. This isn't just about missiles. It's about who controls the Middle East. And right now, Iran is winning. In conclusion, Alastair Crooke gives us a rare, tactically precise look at the real war unfolding. Not in headlines, but in evacuation orders, depleted missile stocks, and hypersonic breakthroughs. The U.S. empire isn't being defeated by armies. It's being bled dry by drones. Israel isn't losing because of Iranian nukes. It's losing because Mach 13 missiles can't be stopped. And the Gulf monarchies? They're discovering a hard truth. No amount of U.S. weapons can save you when your air defenses run dry. This is the new reality. And it's happening right now. Stay tuned for more analysis right here on The Informed Perspective. Until next time, stay informed and think critically.
Now, the funny thing about this war is that it did not begin with a joint Israeli-American assault. It began with an Israeli attack. And Secretary of State Rubio seems to have told the group of 8, these are senators in the U.S. Senate that are part of the Senate Armed Services Committee, that Israel began the attack. We had not been informed of it. We were not warned that they were going to do this. All we knew was always a possibility. And we decided to simply join in because we were not yet satisfied with our posture at the beginning of this. So we seem to have come late to the party. And now we've begun to feel the full impact of all these missiles. A number of missiles have been fired at ships that have yet to strike them. And we know that 3 F-15 fighters were downed. We're attributing that to friendly fire, although there are some disputes about that in terms of others in the region and the world who seem to think the Iranians did it. In any case, we lost 3 F-15s. We didn't lose the pilots. But we have lost American sailors, soldiers, sailors, airmen, or Marines. We just don't know how many. We've admitted, I think, to 3 or 4, but I suspect there's more than that.